Welcome to the Cook's Domain. In this video, I'm going to be making short crust pastry. Now, it's a very easy recipe, it's very easy to do, but it's one of those pastries where if you get it wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. You'll still be usable, you can still make your pastry, but you'll notice either it'll be gummy when you're eating it, or it won't stay together, it'll just fall apart, and that's either because it's too wet or it's too dry. If you've never worked with pastries before and you've bought the store-bought stuff, the store-bought stuff is quite more hydrated than one you would make at home. And they do it that way so it's ease of use for you to use, but doesn't produce a great result. A home one, once you've made it and put it together, it's going to crumble an awful lot. You're going to try and roll it out and it's going to spread and it's going to break, but don't worry about any of that. That's normal. You can just push the bits back in, roll it over again, and just keep pushing it together. But the end result, what you will get out of it will be pastry like you've never had before. Flaky, but more important, it's going to have that crumbly, delicious, biscuit-like texture. So this is my short crust pastry video. It's to accompany my chicken and mushroom pie video, but this recipe is universal short crust pastry. So whatever your short crust pastry needs are, it's a bit of a tongue twister, then this is the way to do it. And again, I'm doing it in a way that I know will work for you guys at home. That's the point. My common rant seems to be that you've got these chefs and they go, do this, do that, do the other, whatever, and then we try and do it, it's all too sticky or it all starts becoming a mess. So the point is about making a video that you guys can actually follow and learn. Okay, very simple recipe to make short crust pastry. What you need is an amount of flour. For this particular recipe that I'm doing, we're using 300 grams of plain flour. We're going to pour that straight into our bowl. You need 150 grams of fat. That could be just butter if you like. I found just butter makes a very strange, very rich, but not in a pleasant way kind of flavor. And also the pastry's texture isn't the way I like it. We have 75 grams of butter here and 75 grams of lard. It doesn't matter what combination you use. 150 grams of total fat is what you need, whether you want to use vegetable shortening or some other fat. It really makes no difference, but it will make a difference to the flavor and the texture of your pastry. I think this is the best, this particular mix. I'm getting a butteriness in there as well as all the texture advantages that lard gives us. So 150 grams cut into cubes. Now, the other thing I must stress at this point is everything has to be cold. This butter has just come out of the fridge, literally seconds before we press record on the camera. Once we've done that, all you want is a good pinch of salt, and get that in there as well. Now, what my method is I bring all these blocks that I've just brought in to one side. As you can see there, so all the butter, lard, fat is here on one side. What you've got to do is just pick up a piece between your thumb and finger and squish it. And if it's a bit too cold and a bit too hard, just help it along. And just make it into a flat piece like this. And then I put it onto this edge of the bowl because it's done. So grab a piece of butter or fat or lard or whatever you're using, give it a squish, drop it back in, and just keep doing that. The lard is a lot softer. You could do a couple of those with both fingers. Now, of course, you could, if you have a food processor, do this in a food processor. I don't like doing that. I was no expert. I have done it like that. And then I watched someone who said that the texture is slightly different and slightly better by doing it by hand. So I thought, all right, let's do that. And during my learning processes, and I found that is actually true. So what I do now is I always make it by hand, because the other huge part of my channel and my personal way of cooking is about making the best quality food that I can. If it means doing it by hand, I'm going to do it by hand. Right, I can't feel anymore. I've done them all now. Now I'm just going to give it a light toss just to make sure every single squished piece there has is coated with flour. I'm lightly with my fingers going in, grabbing flour and butter and squishing and spreading and dropping back into the bowl. And by dropping into the bowl, any newly exposed parts of that butter, because if you see there, see that is newly exposed butter. By dropping back into the bowl and give it a little toss, that's now got a coating of flour. Squish out, drop and toss, squish out, and just keep doing that with both your fingers. I'm not putting a lot of pressure. I'm just picking up, squishing out, dropping back in, coating with flour. And as we do that, the pieces will start to get smaller. And we want to just keep doing this until the entire mixture starts to resemble what people call resemble breadcrumbs. And I think that's a pretty good way of describing. We're just spreading that butter and coating with the flour, spreading the butter or the lard, and just keep doing that until there are no more big pieces left. And every now and again, toss it a little bit just to get some of the flour on the edges that are sitting there doing nothing, you know, getting it into the party. And as long as everything still feels, this is very important, make sure everything still feels kind of cool to you in your fingers. The moment you feel like that butter's actually melting and becoming greasy, stop and put the whole bowl as is into the fridge, just to help that butter and that lard just get cool again. Okay, so after just a few minutes of doing this, you're going to get to a point where this is what you're going to get, this breadcrumb looking consistency. Now there are lumps in here. Like this was a lump, it looked like a lump, but then you grab it and you realize it's just lots of this that have clumped together. But do check them, because we don't want any large lumps of butter or lard, and they could be that. But once you've checked a few and you can see that that's not what the situation is, then basically we're ready to go to the next step. And the next step is adding a liquid, and that liquid is what's going to help us bring this together. Now I'm going to use milk. It's cold milk straight out of the fridge, and for 300 grams I'm going to use 2 tablespoons. That should be enough. However, every bag of flour is different, how it absorbs liquids, you know, the temperature in your room, the temperature that this is actually at, all makes a slight difference, but very tiny difference. So let's get that in. Let's spread that out as much as we can. So let's bring that out, because we want to try now and hydrate this. So I'm just going to slowly pour this in over the entire mixture, just like that, and now help spread that liquid around. And what you're going to find is that it's going to want a clump. Now you don't want to be touching it too much now. There we go. Wow, that's come together. Two is all it needed. Let's fold that in on itself and be quick. We do not want this to melt the butter and the lard. So let's bring that in. Let's get every scrap here, bring it together, and there we have it. That is our short crust pastry. All we have to do now is wrap it in cling film and get it in the fridge and leave it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes or until we want to use it. As you can see here, there's enough short crust pastry to line 2 pie molds, as well as a tray, a medium-sized tray, say about 12 to 14 inches long and about 8 inches wide. If you're going to make any more or less, if you need any more or less, then scale your recipe accordingly. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching.